Voice of Israel, bringing Israel closer.
Hi, everybody. Eve Harrow, my show Rejuvenation on Voice of Israel. Very honored to have on the line Dr. Ben Carson, a very prominent neurosurgeon from the United States, who is in Israel for the first time, who I got to meet earlier this week when I tour guided him. I guided him around Gush Etzion, him and a few people that are with him. Dr. Carson, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
So let me ask you, there are rumors that you're here in Israel to perhaps prepare a little bit for a presidential run in the next U.S. elections?
Well, I certainly am giving strong consideration to it, given the amount of clamoring that's going on in the United States for me to do that. It wasn't something that I had planned when I retired, but sometimes things happen.
Yeah, you don't see a connection between brain surgery and politics?
Perhaps so, but I thought it would be certainly a very good idea to come to Israel, sort of on a fact-finding mission, because so many of the things that you hear in the news or read in the newspaper are not as accurate as they should be, and you can get a much better impression of what's going on when you witness it live.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the organization Face of Israel that brought you in put a tremendous amount of effort into really giving you a very varied schedule from the north to the south to Jerusalem, meeting with just common folk, doing some of the Christian sites, security people. Anything stand out in particular over the last few whirlwind days that you've had?
Yeah, the thing that really stands out is the fact that mothers have to put their children on armored buses with bulletproof glass. Mm-hmm. That at the Hadassah Hospital, the new operating rooms are built 4 stories beneath the ground in bunkers, that you have to have so much security all around, which obviously affects everybody's life, and yet there seems to be a great deal of optimism and happiness despite all of that. And I think that is really a very inspirational thing that I want to take back to America with me.
What's different? Like, did you have a preconceived notion of what Israel would be like, and something has struck you to be very much what you thought it'd be like, completely not like anything you thought it'd be like? A little of both?
It's very much like what I expected. The thing that I guess that surprised me the most was, you're always hearing on the news about the Israeli occupation, the settlements, and then finding out that that was really quite a different situation than it's portrayed.
In what way?
And the way that you're really just building things that are adjacent to things that you already have. Mm-hmm. You're not pushing anybody out. Nobody's being expelled.
Right.
Very much like is portrayed on the news, which perhaps has a different agenda.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that struck me during the few hours that we spent together, and we went, of course, to Herodian, the big fortress that Herod the Great built out in the Judean desert 2,000 years ago. We had really a varied day as well. We went in for lunch. There were a bunch of United States veterans sitting at the table, and all of them recognized you right away, jumped up, gave you handshakes, slaps on the back. They were so happy to see you. And I asked one of them afterwards, did you know he was here? What's happening here? They said, oh, we know who he is, and we feel so connected with him and the things that you're doing for the vets. And they are here in Israel meeting with Israeli veterans, unfortunately, from too many wars, and trying to learn from each other how to cope. So it appears that aspect, that sympathy that you have for people who do protect their country is very pronounced. I was very impressed with that.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a big part of my life. I've always had a lot of friends in the military, the Commandant, the Marine Corps, all these people, and have had many opportunities to discuss with them the challenges that they face, and particularly our veterans, who in many cases are treated abominably, mm-hmm. and yet they're the ones who are responsible for our freedom. And that's something that really needs to change.
Yeah. Well, here in Israel, you saw the soldiers around, but I think you see also how much we care about the soldiers, but also they're Absolutely. Fighting so close to their homes. It's all right here.
Yeah, I was impressed. We went into a little shop, and my wife was thanking one of the ladies there for making cookies and treats for the soldiers. And she said, no, don't thank me. We thank them.
Right.
And she was so sincere about that.
Yeah, it's something I think that perhaps people in the United States don't feel as intensely, maybe because they don't have to. The value that we need to really, the value and the concern that we need to have for the armed forces of any country, because as you so rightly said, we're free to do what we do because there are people protecting us all the time. It's no small thing. Yeah, we feel that here. Let me ask you to delve maybe a little bit into politics. Are you happy with the relationship now that Israel and the United States have? Is there something that if you do throw your hat into the ring, now that you've been here, that you see perhaps needs a little bit of work or to repair even?
Well, I think it needs a lot of work. I talked to a lot of Israeli citizens. I didn't really find anybody who thought that it was a strong relationship. Most people feel that it has deteriorated significantly. And, I think that the current administration is preoccupied with other things and it does not see that as an important relationship. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the historical relationship between Israel and the United States, and you recognize the mutual benefit, particularly in terms of shared technologies, and the fact that it provides us with a reliable friend in a most dangerous part of the world, that is definitely something that should be maintained. It should be cultivated. It should be strengthened to our mutual benefit.
And I know that you understand how much Israelis love the United States and feel very close to everybody in the United States, really.
Absolutely. Well. And Israelis should recognize that there are many people in the United States who are unhappy with the way that the relationship has been allowed to deteriorate.
We're hoping for a stronger relationship at some other point. That's for sure. I know that you were up in the Golan Heights. Did you get any kind of insights as to what's going on with Syria? Or we're in quite a rough neighborhood over here, as you've noticed.
It's an incredibly rough neighborhood, and those are images and impressions that I will never forget. There was actually some explosions going on while we were there, and just looking at the soldiers, the male and the female soldiers, and how dedicated they were to preserving the freedom of their fellow citizens.
Right,
impressed me mightily.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of.
They're very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Yeah, they're incredibly knowledgeable about what's going on. And, I went to the Holocaust Museum today, and, of course, that's always emotional and very touching, but I was sad as I exited because I was saying, it seems like the world hasn't learned anything from that. Because the same kinds of things are going on today, and we're seeing the beginnings of it now with this extreme intolerance for the radical Islamic toward Jews and Christians. And, people just kind of shrug their shoulders. It'll be okay. It will not be okay if you don't deal with it.
Right. You have to stop the bad guys in their tracks. Otherwise, we've been down this road before. Yeah, and not so long ago either. As a Christian, what were your impressions of Israel? I know that you went into Bethlehem, that you were able to visit some of the churches up in the Galilee. How was that on maybe a spiritual or an emotional level?
Obviously, these are things you hear about from the time you're a small child. And then particularly around this time of year, with Christmas season coming here. And that was emotional, very touching, very inspirational. For us. But the other thing that was truly wonderful about it is the way that the Israelis protect the religious freedom of others. I think that is really something that we need to admire and emulate, quite frankly, in the United States.
Well,
even though we claim religious freedom, but I got to tell you, it's not there, and it's disappearing on a daily basis.
I'm so glad that you noticed that and said that, because we're very proud of that. We're very proud of the church bells that ring here in the Holy Land, and the muezzin calling the Muslims to prayer, as well as the Jews going to prayer, and the Druze and the Baha'is and whatever, and whomever. And really the only place in the Middle East that has that. As you well know, the Christians are being persecuted everywhere in the Middle East outside of Israel, where they're being protected and nurtured. Yeah, I'm sure that came home. Just one more question on the medical front. As a physician, did you meet with doctors here? Were you able to go into emergency rooms? What did you think about some of the medical system here?
And I was able to go to Hadassah and see their state-of-the-art intensive care units and the operating rooms, which were submerged in bunkers way underground. Right. But very impressed with the quality. The people, as well as the equipment. I don't think you would find finer care anywhere in the world.
Unfortunately, many of the doctors have become trauma experts. They know how to deal with ball bearings hitting someone's body because someone exploded next to them.
Well, they obviously did a great job, because I saw one of the victims from the recent Temple massacre, and I looked at his scan first, and I was expecting to see a total train wreck, but in fact, he looked pretty good. Really? Which means he got some really good care, I got to tell you.
Okay. Well, I hope this is the first of many trips that you will spend here in Israel. Any last words, Dr. Ben Carson, before we wrap up the interview? I know you've had a very busy week.
My last words would be keep the faith. Okay. Keep saying your prayers. I think there are better days ahead, both for Israel and for the United States.
I know that you are right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ben Carson, very well-known neurosurgeon, going back to America, loaded with, I know, a lot more than when you got off the plane just a few days ago with Face of Israel. This is Eve Harrow on Voice of Israel, my show Rejuvenation. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be right back.
Voice of Israel, bringing Israel closer.